What is your position on removing cell phones from students during the school day? What are the positive benefits and what are possible negative effects of this policy?
So one of the braver things that we did this year was to ban bell-to-bell cell phones in high school. It took, there was a lot of very compelling data that really convinced all of us. I at first was not sure that it would work, but there was so many compelling pieces of information that was given to us that it was pretty obvious that we were going to have to make that decision. The kids obviously were pretty mad, not very happy about it at all, and there were several parents that weren't very happy about it at all. But at the end of the day, I think it actually worked. And it was a big leap of faith on our part, and I think it was a big leap of faith on the high school administration to implement it, and they did it in a pretty thoughtful way. And at the end of the day, if you walk through the high school now, kids are talking to each other in the cafeteria where there was never a sound. Kids are talking to each other in the hall. Kids are talking to each other outside, and they're not on their phones. And I think for a lot of kids, it was becoming a very stressful thing to have. There was one in our May session. The kids came back to tell us whether they liked it or not. And the ones that came back told us that they were glad that we did it, even though they fought it tooth and nail. And one of the things that they said, one of the girls said, was that no one follows me or takes a video of me in the bathroom anymore. And I thought to myself, is that how we've been living in a high school with your peers? And these are the things that have been happening to you. So I think honestly it was one of the better things we did this year, and I'm very proud of the fact that we did it and that other districts have come and looked at our high school, and now Westport's about to implement it themselves. So I think at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do.
Ms. Davies?
I was very much a doubting Thomas when Dr. Smith first came to the table suggesting that he wanted to do this policy. Last year I had a senior, and the thought of taking his phone away in the senior year of high school was not something I relished having a conversation with him about. Since I spoke to a lot of teachers about their perspectives on things, and teachers want to teach. They don't want to be constantly scanning the room looking for people violating the cell phone policy. They're supposed to be up in a phone caddy. So I think I was won around by the teachers. They were all in favor of trying it, and I didn't think it would do much harm. I think that since we did it, there's been more and more emerging data that cell phones are bad, social media, especially for girls, is toxic. It wasn't just, it was exactly what Pam said. The kids do things with phones that we have no idea about. And taking photos or taking pictures of anyone without their permission was going on without adults knowing anything about it. So to take away the pressure of social media, of like, I want to check my phone because maybe someone's saying something about me during school and I have to know what that is, just to take the pressure off the kids, knowing that nobody is posting on social media.
Mr. Shane?
So like Ms. Davies, when the policy was first announced, I was skeptical. And I have two children in the high school, and they were both impacted by this. I think, frankly, both skeptical of the attempt and also, frankly, more upset at the way it was rolled out. It was felt like a surprise. We had no warning. It came out over the summer, and we had to sort of figure out what it meant on the fly. I think what we have seen since it's rolled out, both of my children who, I guess the parent in me wants to say, like, this wasn't really needed for them, it was for the other kids. We'll also tell you that, see, I shouldn't pick it up. We'll also tell you that, this is fundamentally a collective action problem. right? It kind of doesn't matter whether my children needed it. If we believe it is better for the town's children, then it is the kind of thing where, if half the children had their phones and the other half didn't, that creates a very different dynamic. And so I do think it is ultimately a thing that had to be all or nothing. I think we could have done better in terms of how we rolled it out. But I think it has, proven successful. And then, frankly, I think we have to be cautiously optimistic because, I know that some children who shall remain nameless have figured out that their phones and their computers can talk to each other. And so certainly the being stalked into a bathroom with a camera threat has gone away. But the idea that children, if we are like overconfident that our children are not on screens during the day, I mean, we ask them to be on the screen in every class. Their texts are on the screen. It's a bigger screen. It's a laptop. And those laptops are all bring your own device. And so we just have to be cautious, I think, about patting ourselves on the back, because if anything, we all know that our children probably know more about our technology than we do, and they are finding new ways to use it every day.
Any other comment on that question?
Well, he's right about that. I think that, the kids do have their laptops and they can get a text. That's fair. And we knew that was going to be a part of the problem. But I think overall, they're not using their phones in the way that they were. And overall, they're talking to each other more than they were. And overall, I think there's a better climate in the high school because we did this. And what'll make it even easier is Middlebrook kids aren't used to having their phones because they have to keep them in their lockers. So as those kids start to come up into the high school, it should get better and better for kids to just leave them or put them in a pouch.